Hello, everyone, and welcome to another craft project. I know you guys have been talking about the gold rush and white settlers coming in, and sometimes also Black people coming into California for the gold rush. And so we are doing a project next week. We're going to be doing a project involving panning for gold, but today we are doing a covered wagon project. So lots of people came in by covered wagon over various trails. When I was a kid, we had a video game called the Oregon Trail, and everyone always died in it. But a lot of settlers came in covered wagons across the United States. So what we're going to need to make this project is you will have 3 templates. This is template 1. This is template 3. This is going to be your top. And this is template 2. So 1, 2, 3. You need these 3 pages. You need scissors. You need tape. And you need 4 little gold brads. Not real gold. Anyway, the brads look like this. See that? Okay, so here we go. So first you got to cut stuff out. Okay, so I'm going to work on doing that, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about my own and Leah's own family stories about the gold rush. So my great grandparents, so Leah's great grandparents, were actually pioneers or settlers during the gold rush. So my great great grandmother was born in Connecticut, and she was one of this couple, Pierre Spang, who was an immigrant from France, actually from Alsace, in France. Married a woman from a family in Connecticut, and she was named Harriet Hubbard. And so Pierre and Harriet had 3 children, one of whom was my great great grandmother. And Pierre decided to go and follow many other people and go to California to participate in the gold rush. He did not take a covered wagon. He actually went by ship. Many people who had a little bit more money actually went all the way around South America to go from the East Coast to the West Coast. And Connecticut was a sailing area, so boats were a little cheaper than if you lived in like Chicago or something. And so he went all the way around, and then he made a little bit of money up near Sonora, which is up in the Sierra foothills, somewhat close to Yosemite. And then he sent for the rest of his family. He did not even know that that his wife Harriet had the little girl, because he didn't know his wife was pregnant. Love you. Sorry, that's monorail. Sorry. That's Leah's brother. He likes me to repeat stuff. And so she traveled with 3 children on a boat. And this time, instead of going all the way around South America, they went to Panama and they crossed across Panama. There was no Panama Canal. This was in 1852. Okay. And then so she took a ship to Panama with 3 kids, and then one of whom was only 1 year old. Then they got off the boat, traveled by train and mule to the other side of Panama to get on another boat. That boat got into a shipwreck. Okay, and then they had to get on another boat. They got a disease, dysentery, but they all survived miraculously and ended up in San Francisco. So I imagine monorail. So I imagine that my great-great-grandmother as a baby may have actually ridden in some kind of a wagon or covered wagon to go from San Francisco or possibly Sacramento, because you could go up by river from San Francisco, but rode in some kind of a wagon to get up into the hills, into Sonora, to meet for the first time her father, okay? And so that family, Pierre and Harriet Spang, lived in Sonora. He did gold mining and she ran a boarding house. And the boarding house was much more lucrative and made more money than the gold mining. So they ended up having 4 more children, all of whom were born in Sonora. And then they realized the gold mining didn't do very well. They decided to go back to Connecticut. And so they had to take ships all the way around. This time they went all the way around South America to go back to Connecticut. So it was a long trek. So now we're going to take this, love you, Alex. We're going to take this piece and there's a bunch of little dotted lines, okay, and a bunch of straight lines, okay. We are only going to cut the straight lines. Do not cut the folded lines. Okay, monorail. So cut like this and this, this, and this. Several years later, I think that my relatives got bored in Connecticut. They decided to go out and have some adventures. By this time, some of them had gotten married, and so they actually did stay in Connecticut, but some of the kids. But the Pierre and Harriet decided, let's go have some more adventures. By now, there was a train. This was, I think, 1869. By 1869, there was a railroad that went across. So this time they took the train and some covered wagons to go to Wyoming. And they ended up settling in Wyoming and lived there for the rest of their lives. And my grandmother Harriet lived to be, my great-great-great-grandmother Harriet lived to be 89, which was pretty darn good. All right, so now all those folded lines, we want to fold them and always in toward the middle, because we're making the base of our wagon. Okay, so this boxy thing, that's what we make with template 1, the box part. And that's essentially what it was in real wagons. It was basically just a big giant box that all of your stuff, you were going to move all the way across the country, and there were no roads there, and there was no railroad there. And if you couldn't afford to take a boat and you wanted to take lots of stuff with you, you had to take covered wagons. So the cover was to keep out the sun. And the wagon part, you put all your stuff in there, your food, your supplies, and you usually slept in or directly under the wagon whenever you stopped. Okay, so now what we've done is we folded everything in. These tabs go on the inside like this and like this, okay? But I'm not doing anything to attach it yet because first we have to poke some holes. So if you look at your template, there are these little teeny holes, okay? So I am going to use, I lost my pen. I was going to use a pen. All right, I'm going to use scissors, but this is dangerous. So you may want to use a pen or a pencil. Leah, do you have any pencils I could borrow?
Yeah.
Can you find one quickly? Okay. Yeah. So I will just talk. So we want to poke a little hole where those little tiny circles are. And we need to poke another hole in the center of our wheels. Now this is all pretty stiff cardboard, so it might be a little difficult. You may need to use scissors to help it out, but the best and the safest thing is to use a pen or a pencil. Anything? Anything, doesn't even have to have a tip on it. Just something. Thank you very much. 2, wow. Thank you. I will try not to break them. Okay, so take a pencil and poke a hole, because we're going to need that so that our wheels will turn. All right, so 1 and 2. Try not to hurt yourself, please. And 3 and 4. So we've actually taken a couple of trips up to Sonora. Okay, well, that was a lot. Okay, lots of interruptions today. So now we have made holes in all of our wheels, and let's try to do that on our brown cardstock on the wagon. Okay, and these will make it much easier to make our, to finish our wheels on our wagon. So, do you think it was easy to go all the way across the US in a covered wagon? Usually people started from St. Louis, Missouri. Okay. Why do you think people would want to? Was it just for the gold, or were there other reasons why people would go all the way across the country? So, I'm using tape. You can also use glue. Okay, but I'm actually just taping this together. 2 pieces. Hi, Alex. Monorail. This end. This end. Now this T part is called a yoke, okay? And it was at the front of the box of the wagon, okay? And it was actually used, you would hitch up your horse or an ox, which is like a big cow, or donkeys or whatever you had to pull the wagon. So this would actually go onto a horse or any farm animals, because a lot of people would bring at least some of their animals with them. So I'm taping that on. And there we go. We have our box, the box of our wagon, or sometimes it's called the bed of the wagon. And then we have our yoke, which pulls the wagon along. Okay, so next we're going to put on our wheels. So you need 4 little brads. That's what those are called, brad. Okay. I don't think there's anybody named Brad in your class. Anyway, so what you do is these will separate slightly. There's like 2 little legs on them. You gotta stick your fingernail in there, not too hard, and separate it, and you can see they will come apart. So first you're gonna put it through a wheel like that, and then you're gonna stick the wheel into one of these holes. It looks like that. And then on this side, you're gonna open up your brad a little bit. Do not open all the way up or the wheel won't turn. So see, I opened it about halfway out open. I don't know if you can see that. Try and turn it. There we go. It's about halfway open. Okay, and that still allows the wheel to turn. Okay, so I'm gonna keep doing that on all the other wheels. So most people who went and traveled by covered wagon traveled in groups. So sometimes it was extended families. Sometimes it was just people who got together and everybody contributed with different food. But you didn't want to go all by yourself because it was still dangerous. There were people who would rob you. There were Native Americans trying to defend their land. There were all sorts of dangers. There were still, bears or mountain lions. It was very difficult and dangerous. So you wanted a group of friends to go with. It's sometimes called a wagon train with a bunch of wagons. Okay, so now we have our little wagon, and now we're going to put on the bonnet. So that's what this top is called. It's called a bonnet. Like, you have old-time women wore a bonnet on their heads to keep the sun off, because there was no sunscreen back in the day. And so this is a sunscreen. So it's also called a bonnet, the bonnet of the wagon. So take the part that you want. You can do it either way, either the white part or that light brown part. I think the light brown looks more realistic. So I'm actually going to put the tape on this narrow end on the side that I don't want to show. Okay. And I'm going to attach it here. Okay. And then again, put some tape on the other side on the side you don't want to show. And you're going to tape this to the inside of the wagon. And there we go. We have a covered wagon. Da-da-da. Good job, guys. Bye-bye.